We don't normally go this route, but you know what? Just wanted to switch things up a little bit and kind of bring a little bit of freshness, bring a little something a little bit different than normal. We want to talk about the latest Trump administration decision to go into Chicago and help the city and cleaning up the city. Before we go into the video, I just want to say like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and so that this way you could stay up with the latest reactions. Now, one thing about what's going on in Chicago is that many people are equating Trump with being a fascist, one who's an authoritarian, and one who's a dictator-like qualities. And so a lot of people are upset. Democracy Now! Had published or posted this video on the coverage, in which we're going to go into in just briefly for a moment. But the fact of the matter is that so many people do not want order. It's even happening in our homes, in our families. Some people don't even understand the reality of, or the purpose for government, and the purpose for rewarding good but punishing evil. And so now we're going to go into the video where Democracy Now! Has covered this story. Let's go on.
Democracy Now!, democracynow.org. I'm Amy Goodman in New York. Juan Gonzalez is in Chicago. President Trump signed an executive order Monday that would establish specialized National Guard units to be quickly deployed in Washington, D.C. and all 50 states. Under the order, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth will oversee the National Guard, assisting local law enforcement in, quote, quelling civil disturbances, unquote. The move comes weeks after Trump deployed the National Guard to Washington, where district crime rate was already at its lowest level in decades. Trump's also threatened to send troops to, New York, Baltimore, Chicago, and other cities. This is President Trump.
I made the statement that next should be Chicago because, as you all know, Chicago is a killing field right now. And they don't acknowledge it. And they say, we don't need him. Freedom, freedom. He's a dictator. He's a dictator. A lot of people are saying maybe we like a dictator. I don't like a dictator. I'm not a dictator.
Meanwhile, Democratic Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker responded to Trump Monday at a news conference surrounded by state and local officials and business and community leaders.
Earlier today in the Oval Office, Donald Trump looked at the assembled cameras and asked for me personally to say, Mr. President, can you do us the honor of protecting our city? Instead, I say, Mr. President, do not come to Chicago.
So while we want to talk about this, and it's very important to really understand something about this, a lot of the Democratic ran cities, New York, Chicago, Baltimore, a lot of these Democratic ran cities are a mess. They're in turmoil. And if they're able to get the job done, how come they're not doing it? Now, you might say, well, what does this have to do with anything that relates to the Bible? Yeah, that's a really good question because, again, a lot of what these lawmakers are doing, especially these Democratic governors, you know what they do? They what they'll do is they'll increase food stamps so that they'll buy the votes. You can say what you will, but a lot of this corrupt political strategy that's used to win over the votes, to make the people feel like we're for you, we know you're struggling, we know you're going through, and they paint this beautiful picture. But the fact of the matter is, the city is in shambles. It's being ran by thugs and gangsters and all these kinds of things, and nobody seems to be doing anything about it. Instead, they don't want any intervention. They want to keep running their cities into the ground, meanwhile justifying higher budgets, higher taxes, and then when they get into office, all of a sudden they're like, oh, guess what? We have to cut back on food stamps and all those other things. Why do they do that? Because once they get what they want, they're no longer for the people.
You are neither wanted here nor needed here. Your remarks about this effort over the last several weeks have betrayed a continuing slip in your mental faculties and are not fit for the auspicious office that you occupy.
So of course they would accuse them of being mentally ill because they're not doing their job. And in Chicago, it's a mess. In New York, it's a mess. And you know what's happening? They're being exposed. The Democratic Party is being exposed in every arena, and no one wants to acknowledge it. What is the purpose for government? Well, let's go into Romans chapter 13. Because you know what? A lot of people say, well, I want you to give me the Bible. And I'm glad that you do, because I would rather give you the Bible than my own opinion. So Romans chapter 13 says, let every soul be subject unto the higher powers. For there's no power but of God. The powers that be are ordained of God. Whoever therefore resists the power, resists the ordinance of God, and they that resist shall receive to themselves damnation. For rulers are not a terror to good works, but to the evil. Well then, wilt thou then not be afraid of the power? Do that which is good, and thou shalt have praise of the same. For he is the minister of God to thee for good. But if you do that which is evil, be afraid, for he bears not the sword in vain. For he is the minister of God, avenger to execute wrath upon him that does evil. Wherefore, you must needs be subject not only for wrath, but also for conscience sake. For this sake, pay ye tribute also, for they are God's ministers, attending continually upon this very thing. Render therefore to all their dues, tribute to whom tribute is due, custom to whom custom, fear to whom fear, honor to whom honor. Sounds to me like the purpose of government, of governing authority, is to punish the evil and reward the good. But in these cases, a lot of these Democratic governors are not punishing evil, they're going along with it. And they're going along with it to such an extent that they just turn a blind eye. And that should no longer be.
It's alarming. You seem to lack any appropriate concern as our commander-in-chief for the members of the military that you would so callously deploy as pawns in your ever more alarming grabs for power.
That's Illinois.
And to the point of Trump, as he said, this isn't about a ploy for power. This is about you're not doing your job, Governor, and therefore what you need to do is do your job so that he don't have to do your job for you and send in the military to assist the police because your city is getting out of hand. But of course they would call it fascism, and the reason why they will, and the reason why they do, and the reason why Democrats do, not all, but some, the reason why they say that is because they're exposed. And so they're just playing on this agenda, on this narrative that is so anti-order. They don't want order. Look at the last Democratic ran House and Democratic ran president. And look how they just let things go in Seattle, Washington, and Oregon, and all these different places where people were just running rampant, doing whatever they wanted to do. Nobody's saying anything about that. But you know what? That is an open gate to having a country that's totally destroyed. So thank God that the pieces are being put back together again, so to speak, because our country over the last 4 years was in utter turmoil.
Governor J.B. Pritzker speaking Monday. For more, we go to Chicago, where we're joined by Alderman Byron Sigcho-Lopez, who represents Chicago's 25th ward. He immigrated to the U.S. from Ecuador, was first elected in 2019 as a Democratic Socialist with support from the Chicago Democratic Socialists of America.
Which shouldn't even be allowed. Let's talk about it while it's here. You get these socialists that come over from another country. First of all, it didn't work in your country. Don't bring that crap here. Don't bring your socialist nonsense to our country because it didn't work where you came from. Because if it did, you wouldn't leave where you came from. You'd stay right there. But you came over here with that poison, and guess what? We don't want it here in our country. We don't want socialism. We don't want your Islamic Sharia law, we don't want any of that. If that worked for where you're at and you like that garbage and that nonsense, go back there. Go to that country. Stay there. We don't want it here in America.
DSA. We welcome you, Alderman, to Democracy Now! You held a meeting this weekend bringing together people all over. You're chair of the Housing and Real Estate Committee. If you can talk about your response to what President Trump is threatening.
No, thank you, and it's an honor to be here with you in this critical time. When Trump talks about many people maybe like a dictator, nobody likes a dictator, and nobody wants to see the normalization of military troops in American cities. We joined the many calls of our communities to defend our city. We cannot normalize the militarization, the disappearing of our neighbors, the kidnapping of our neighbors, as we saw in June 4th here.
And of course, there they go, a play on words. Oh, the kidnapping. Listen, let's be real about this. If you come over to our country and you do it in a legal way, by all means, okay. But if you come over here illegally, and then the worst part about it is you creep into these places of authority in our government, and you want to bring that nonsense, that socialist agenda here? Come on. When are we going to really wake up and smell the coffee? Judgment looms at the door. We have people like what we're seeing here in a place of influence, making Americans feel as though what Trump is doing is wrong.
In our city, when masked men basically created a human trap and kidnapped mainly women from our community. We do not normalize, we organize. We do not despair. We're not afraid. We do not comply to dictators. And here in the city of Chicago, what we have done when this was first announced, the mass deportations, we organized to the frustration of the Trump administration that have seen an informed, a well-organized community, and that's what they're going to continue.
That's what they play on. These socialists love division. That's what they play on that all the time. Oh, the poor American people. I guarantee you that where this man has come from, the country he came from, that's under the socialist rule, you can tell he didn't like it where he was at. He had to come over here. And the fact of the matter is, it's not about being racist. It's not about being a bigot. It's not about any of that. But when you start bringing that nonsense, nobody's talking about what's happening over in Europe. Sharia law is just destroying the UK. And nobody's covering it on the news. There are some social media platforms that are. And nobody seems to be concerned. Listen, it's time to wake up and smell the coffee. Because what's happening in our own backyards is that there are people in office. And again, just as Democracy Now!, as the host began to say in the beginning, when she began to introduce this man, that he came over illegally. He's over here in a place of authority, just like Zoran Mandami and running for the mayor's office in New York City. How in the world do you let somebody from a country come over here from another country that doesn't support American values, doesn't support anything? Listen, it's all a facade. How can you not see through that? So the fact of the matter is that if we don't learn how to really do our research and really see what's going on, listen, if these systems of government work, why are people in China unhappy? Why are people in Haiti and people in Cuba that are under different regimes of, and socialism and communism has different degrees. Why aren't the people happy to be there? What they want to do is they want to dominate the world. And that is their desire. They want to destroy every last fiber that's left in America and want to change it. And you know what? Just look at Iran in the 1960s. Look at how they look. They dress like the American people, but in less than 50 years' time, the women were covered up from head to toe, looking like a lot of the Muslim women that do today. They will enforce their agenda on the American people. You can say it'll never happen. It will if we keep allowing these things to go unchecked. If you don't stop it now before it gets worse, it will get so bad that, ladies, your freedom that you enjoy as females will no longer exist.
Continue to see. We have, if anything, as a former labor organizer, we see that the boss is our best organizer. He's uniting our city. He united our immigrant community. He's organizing and he's unifying our city now more than ever. Now we have labor leaders, faith leaders that are ready to make sure that our schools, our churches, our hospitals are safe grounds as it should be. And we want to make sure that he knows that on Labor Day, we, as Trump prepares to make this the last Labor Day in our city, we want to make sure that he knows that this is going to be a historic Labor Day. Faith leaders, everybody across the city coming together to defend every neighbor. Not only are Texas legislators now fleeing political violence from the Trump administration, we have many neighbors who have kidnapped families. We still have families, thousands of kids from the first Trump administration that are still unaccounted for. So here in Chicago, we organize. We're mobilizing labor, faith leaders, community leaders to stand for our city. We're not going to normalize a dictator. We're not going to normalize militarized zones. In a time like this, we stand up and we organize.
They do that in revolt to law and order. They don't want order. They celebrate this division. And so when you have that going on, there's so many people who are blinded, and they're feeding the people exactly what they want to hear. But I can guarantee you this. All the people that support the nonsense that this guy's saying here, they're those that don't realize what they're really supporting. They truly don't understand that by them resisting the help that's needed, they think this is cute. They think this is great. They don't know where they're headed. And it's coming to a city near you if you believe that it's okay for this kind of nonsense to go on. Let's be real about it. Chicago is in turmoil. It's messed up. So is all the other Democratic ran cities. They're running them into the ground. There's a bigger narrative at work. And we need to really wake up and smell the coffee.
And Alderman, I wanted to ask you, you represent the 25th Ward, and where the community of Pilsen, with the historic Mexican Latino community is centered. What is the condition on the ground right now in terms of raids in Chicago? And in June, there were at least a dozen people arrested by federal immigration agents after they showed up to a routine immigration appointment at an office in the South Loop. What's the situation right now in terms of these raids?
Well, we have been one of the first communities that the Trump administration targeted. We had early on one father that was detained after his family have left their kids in school. Just at the end of last school year, ICE was setting shop right next to one of our elementary schools in a laundromat, waiting for parents at dismissal. This is intended to create terror, to scare people, to create fear, to push people to deport themselves. So we see.
Okay, again, let's clear the air. If you came over the wrong way, then you need to leave and re-enter the right way. If that's the case, let's not become overly dramatic where it's like, oh, it's okay for all these people to have come over. The fact that they opened the borders was just part of the plan. Why? Because the Democrats want control, because they want globalism. They offer a false peace. The Bible says in the latter days, they'll say peace, and then there's sudden destruction. Again, if we're not careful, that's what's going to happen. So the people in Chicago shouldn't be parading around like, oh, we're just so bold in our stance against the president. No, because what you're standing for on the opposite end is having your own head in the balance. Let's be honest about this. The Democrats are part of a bigger agenda. Not all of them, but I'm just saying, the majority, from what we're seeing, they're socialists. They're against true freedom. They promise freedom, but it really leads to slavery. It really leads to bondage. It really leads to having no order.
Also, with now that they not only don't respect rights, they're using violence as a tool of fascism. They did not respect constitutional rights when they enter one of our businesses a few months ago and detained 2 workers. In our community, right now, there's serious concerns and fear of the Trump administration.
And you know why? Because they came over the wrong way. Why won't you come out and say that? And that's the thing. There's nothing wrong. If people are over here unlawfully, there's nothing wrong with saying you have to go. There's not enough room for everybody. There's nothing wrong with saying there's a process of how you need to come over here.
Coming and snatching families, the snatching or being around schools, around hospitals, churches. So in our community, we're organizing. We are making sure that we denounce the Trump administration for coming to churches, hospitals, schools. We're preparing. We're working together with all community leaders, as we did when the administration threatened with mass deportations. We organize, and we're organizing with labor leaders to make sure that our labor leaders, elected leaders, faith leaders, our community are at the front lines, that we keep our vulnerable communities safe, in safe space.
And if they're true faith leaders, they're not going to follow behind this mess. Because again, there is another agenda at work. Nobody's willing to call it out. Nobody's willing to say the truth about this matter. But what Byron Lopez is saying is absolutely nonsense. Because here's the thing. Let's go to the bottom line of everything. Show us that the city is safe. Show us that it's a better place. Prove it. How is the economy there? How is all the things, are the people being cared for? Because you know what? Just before Biden came out of office, the last mayor in Chicago almost ran it into the ground. Misappropriating funds, all these other things. And you mean to tell me that this kind of nonsense that's coming out of this man's mouth, of course they're going to paint a bad picture. Of course they're going to say, oh, this is just a violation of our rights. Okay. Wait until you see what happens when you get what you really want. And that's what people don't understand. There's a purpose to have order. God has given those in authority to punish evil and reward good. And you can say what you want to say, but all the people that came over across the border were not people who wanted true freedom. Some, yes, maybe even most, but others came with an agenda. You know what that one agenda is? To destroy the country. And how can you not pick up the fact that the Democrats were like, yeah, when illegals come over, you know what you can do? Hurry up and get them IDs. Hurry up and get them, just give them all kinds of stuff, all kinds of help, all kinds of this. Yeah, let's welcome them in the name of brotherly love. Are you kidding me? Are you absolutely kidding me when we have veterans who serve in our United States military who get urinated on because, again, once they come out of the service, they treat them like they don't care? What kind of foolishness is that? I don't know one person, and for all of you haters out there that will probably say some crazy stuff, let somebody come to your house that you don't know. Stay on your dime, eat up all your food. While you go to work and they sit there and do nothing. But meanwhile, while you're working and you're doing everything that you need to do and you need help but can't get it, but yet they're going to live off of you. And then at the end of the day, they're plotting to destroy the freedom that you're working for your future generations of your family, your children, and all of that. That's what's at stake. Because I'll tell you what, a lot of these people that come over here, they don't love you. They don't love your country. So we need to really wake up.
And that we come heavy with a mass mobilization on Labor Day on September 1st, led by the Chicago Teachers Union and many other leaders, to make sure that the Trump administration will see dignity, or solidarity to LA, or solidarity to DC. We see what's happening. We need to make sure that there's more coverage of that. We invite all the media to come to Chicago. We are organizing to protect our communities. We are prepared to mobilize, as we did, not only to organize about knowing our rights. It's clear that the Trump administration does not respect our Constitution on our rights. So we're going to make sure that we are organized to protect our people and go in the offense. We need to hold them accountable for the people who are dying in ICE facilities, for the concentration camps illegally built, and also for the kids that are being separated, for the multiple atrocities. We are prepared here in Chicago we are a strong labor city. We're not going to normalize fascism, and we're prepared to face the dictator head on, and we know that we can defeat.
And of course, they would call him a dictator. But again, Byron, look at your own country where you came from, brother. You obviously didn't want to be there, so you came over here to bring that garbage over here to us, and we don't want it. And a lot of these people that are supporting this and the way that they're curtailing this coverage, it would make it seem as though that it's people who support America. But it's not. Just look at who they're showing faces of. They're showing people who are here illegally. Listen, we don't want your Islam. We don't want you to even hold offices because you don't have the best interests of our country at heart. We as Americans need to defeat this whole narrative of anything that you of socialism coming into our politics, any type of this nonsense that you're trying to bring from your country where you came from, because either you were sent here, you're paid to be here to do one thing, and that's to destroy our country, and nobody wants to talk about it. We're not okay with it, and we're going to stand against it. And if it's a quote-unquote faith leader or pastor that's willing to stand with this nonsense, then you need to really question if you even understand your literacy, and do you really know how to read your Bible, to know the purpose of government. Those in office are trying to do everything they can to undermine those who love God, those who love his word, because you know what? You can say what you want to say. A lot of people say religion and politics don't mix. But if that's the case, why won't you talk about what's going on in the UK with Sharia law? That's religion. And the people are miserable. And they say that we got to do this by divine decree. It's a spirit of Antichrist. It's against Christ. It's a form of government that is ungodly. It doesn't represent biblical principles. And it's against the things of God.
Project 2025 and the dictator that want to consolidate power.
And Alderman, I want to ask you, you're a close ally of Mayor Brandon Johnson. Your discussions with the mayor in terms of how he's going to respond if Trump sends the National Guard in, especially the issue of how will the Chicago police respond?
Yes, we have been in close communication with Mayor Johnson, just as we did when we launched a huge Know Your Rights campaign to make sure that the mayor knows that it's critical that the city of Chicago stands strong. And he today will be joining us on an announcement to have a major mobilization for Labor Day. We also have talked about the importance of making sure that there's no collaboration between the Chicago Police Department and the Trump administration. We have seen that on June 4th. There was an investigation, multiple leaders and elected officials that condemn the actions of ICE and any kind of collaboration on June 4th, the incident that you mentioned. And the mayor has shown his support for our community. His standing is strong. He went to Washington to defend our Constitution, our state and city code. And we are here prepared to mobilize on Labor Day. Mayor Johnson being one of the people standing with us. There will be no collaboration with the Chicago Police Department and ICE agents, and that's what we suspect, that the Trump administration is deploying military forces, because they know that there's no way that they can conduct such operations again without the collaboration of the Chicago Police Department. In this case, he wants to send the military. We will continue to push back. We will continue to make sure that there's no collaboration with Chicago Police Department, but more than anything else, we want to make sure that there's massive mobilization in our city to make sure that we protect each other, protect our neighbors. I'm glad.
And guess what? They're doing nothing to help Chicago. Nothing. All the rampant killing and murder and all that stuff. Are you kidding me? Please, don't make your police department look bad. Because it's bad enough that by design of the way you run things in your city, it is terrible. And so they want to organize and show, oh yeah, we're unified, we're together. Oh man, the people, we're not going to tolerate this. And it's like, okay, how about have that same mentality toward the evil that's going on in your city? How about that? Can you say anything about that, Byron?
That Mayor Johnson is joining today the launching of the Labor Day movement to protect our city. Chicago is a labor city, is a labor town, and we're going to...
They don't care. You don't care about your city. This is about nothing but publicity. And that's what he wants. That's what he wants, to make himself look good. Like he's a protector of Chicago. Listen, he's a wolf in sheep clothing. So is the governor there. And the fact of the matter is that all they're trying to do is make it seem like, oh, the Republicans are just so authoritarian. We just can't, we can't let this happen. Meanwhile, you got all this all this violence going on in your city, and you're not doing anything about it. Listen, it all boils down to this. If you're really doing your job, the military wouldn't need to come. Why won't you deal with what you're not doing? You can't. You know why? Because then you wouldn't be on this program today. You wouldn't be talking about this. You would be doing something to actually benefit Chicago and to help the city.
Going to join LA and DC fighting fascism, and we know that we're going to defeat Project 2025 here in Chicago. We're ready, as my sister Stacey Davis Gates said, for the third attempt to reconstruct and rebuild our country. Americans are courageous. Americans will not stand for kings or dictators, and here in Chicago we show, and we will show, the power of the labor movement along with faith leaders and our immigrant communities together. The dictator has unified our city, and we're ready to take on this because we must defeat fascism. Chairman Fred Hampton said it clearly and well. If we did not defeat fascism, fascism will stop every single one of us.
So did you defeat it in your own country? I don't think you did there, buddy. Start in your own backyard. Because first of all, it's not fascism to want law and order. And it's terrible because you know what? A lot of these people, and again, I don't know what it is, but even in New York, the way that they have it structured in New York, there's no way for a Republican to win the governor's seat because of the way they have it structured. In every election, they increase food stamps, and after they get in, they turn it away. And they do other things. Like they want to give out stimulus checks to people in New York on the dime of the New York governor. The taxpayers' money. All of that. You know why? Because they have an agenda to destroy the cities in which they're at. You can say what you want to say. It's time for us to really understand what is at stake. Whether it's the governor in New York, even in the mayor's race, it's terrible. They got a socialist Muslim trying to get into office. You can say, "Oh man, that's just you're such a bigot. You're so racist." No, I don't want anyone that does not have the best interests of the country in office. For the sake of my children's children and my grandchildren and their children. Because these people will run it to the ground. There are people who are confused, and I bet you a lot of these people support socialism. They support abortion. They support same-sex marriage. They support all that. And illegal immigration, where you can just come over, that you can just come on over with no repercussions. And again, let somebody come in your door at night uninvited. I guarantee you they're not staying in your house. You can say what you want to say. You can say it's not the same thing. It sure is. But now, not only did we let them into the house, now they're in places of authority, and we got this guy who's talking all this kind of nonsense against, and this goes to show you they're against our country. When you start openly going against order, when you start going against the president, now it's one thing if he's doing something unlawful, but the fact that he's helping to clean up a place that you've made a mess of, you've got to be kidding me. Again, I'm not telling any of you how to believe. You can believe however you want. But one thing I will tell you is this. If you can't see through this nonsense, there's a problem. There's a serious problem. People truly do not know the difference between their left hand and their right hand. And this kind of stuff that is being put out there is nothing but a ploy to get people to think that our government is not trying to bring things back into order, when that is absolutely not true. It's not about authoritarianism in this case. It's about cleaning up these cities where there's all this nonsense. And then, if you want to go off of what they're saying to be, they're now let me be fair here. You have those who are saying, well, he had no right to deploy the National Guard in D.C. because crime wasn't an issue. What? What study? And then, not only do you need to find out the source of the study, but then even in Chicago, the death rate, the murder. And some people say, well, it's always been like that. Exactly. So why wouldn't you want to do something about it? They don't. They're part of the problem. They're the reason why this is happening. They're giving it a pass.
So here in Chicago, in the land of Chairman Fred Hampton, in the land of the labor movement, we said to Trump, we're not afraid, we're not going to be intimidated, and we will not comply with a dictator.
We're speaking to Alderperson Byron Cicho Lopez, speaking to us from Chicago. Thanks for watching Democracy Now! On YouTube. Subscribe to the channel.
So, again, there you have it, right? Again, Romans 13, the purpose for government and those in authority is to punish what is evil, reward those who are good. There's a reason why those in office hold those places. Our job as believers in the world is we ought to want people who are in place of government authority that don't reward evil, whether it's violence, abortion, against a family, all of that. You shouldn't want someone in office that doesn't have your best interest at heart. And I'm not talking about going along with what you want if you're gay, if you're whatever that you subscribe to, transgenderism or whatever. You shouldn't want somebody in office that's going to punish good and reward evil. We have to have a biblical worldview. And it was Gandhi who said, love the sinner, hate the sin. Like, we got to go along with people's nonsense. The fact of the matter is, if you come over here and you didn't come the right way, then yes, you should be removed and come back the right way. But what we do is we demonize that because we're living in a generation that hates authority. There's children to this day that cuss their parents out, give them the middle finger, calls them all different letters of the alphabet. And you know what? This is what we have. That's what they want. They do it in our school systems now. Oh, we don't need the parents' permission. You don't need your parents' permission. Oh, it takes a quote-unquote village. That is a lie. And then we call parental authority abuse. Oh, well, that's abuse. Your parents told you that you couldn't play your video game? Oh, that's abuse. We'll call CPS. All different kinds of nonsense. Listen, Saints, it's time to wake up. It's time to smell the coffee. It's brewing. I'm your host, Pastor Stephen Woods. I just want to say thank you for tuning into the channel. Like, share, subscribe.